So anyway, you need to disappear now, Tom, don't you, buddy?
Sadly, I do need to go soon. I don't know if there was any more topics you guys had to cover, but
Well,
I got about
yeah,
5 more minutes or so I can throw my 10 cents in.
well, I mean, well, I don't think you know anything about it. It was the we're going to talk about Tron Ares and then Friday the 13th, but
Well, sadly, I
Friday
would
the
love to
13th.
talk a little bit about the Friday the 13th because I did not hear about this, but I'm not surprised. Because we
Yeah,
already
all right,
know
well,
that there
let's,
is a Friday the 13th project in the works for Paramount Television, I believe, isn't it?
yeah.
Mhm.
So
With this would
Brian
be the
Fuller.
one with Brian Fuller and Frank. The other guy, I think it's Frank Miller, not Frank Miller. What's his name? Victor Miller. Victor Miller.
yeah,
Yeah. So here we go. It says it right in this intro, so I'll just shut up.
Shut up, Tom. So yeah, recently learned that Peacock gave a straight to series order to Friday the
Peacock
13th
did,
prequel,
so it'd be NBC.
titled
Okay.
Crystal Lake, with Brian Fuller and Victor Miller on board as writers and executive producers. But we're going to be getting the big screen as well, which is interesting. So according to Bloody Disgusting, original Friday helmet Sean S. Cunningham, where this is, he was part of the lawsuits and stuff, so it's a bit weird. I don't really.
Yeah.
get
So
it,
here's the
but
separation
okay.
for anybody wondering. Victor Miller owns everything except for the name. That's it.
Yeah, but he also owns the likeness, the character.
That's what I'm saying. He owns everything except for the name.
So I reckon it's interesting. They're probably going to change Jason.
It's going to be a completely different. It's got to be a completely different story.
Yeah. So you've got basically Sean S. Cunningham is developing a reboot. So it is a reboot alongside writer Jeff Locker and director Jeremy Weiss. So the Friday the 13th rights, obviously a big mess. But apparently Locker believes they found a way to sidestep any legal issues that arise. And if not, they've got a plan B for a direct sequel to the original as well, apparently. So here's the statement, right? Obviously, the prequel series has reignited interest about a new film. So we're hoping the surrounding excitement will inspire both sides to come together and give us Jason on the big screen again for the first time in 14 years. But we also have a plan B for a sequel to the original we think fans will absolutely love and should avoid any legal entanglements. So that sounds like what they mean is like, oh, well, we can do a sequel to the original because they didn't actually introduce Jason. So what we can do is we can call it like, Friday the 13th here. 13th, Friday the 13th, or I don't know, whatever. Some shit. And then just introduce a whole new character as Jason, because in that original one, you didn't see Jason, you saw his mother. That's probably what they're saying. I mean,
well, that's not even technically true, because that's how Victor Miller got Jason, is he is a character in the first film.
Yeah.
So
no, you're right.
All the versions, because they were trying to argue for a while that they should own the rights to the hockey masked version of Jason, since that came in sequels, and they're like, nah, it's redundant in a sense that the character was already created. It's just this. It's the same version of the character.
Yeah.
That doesn't change anything. So their hopes and praying is, they got to hope and pray that Victor Miller say, yeah, go for it, or sign off with some kind of payment, because otherwise they can't use Jason.
Yeah. So I mean, that sounds like what they're going to do is just create. I reckon they'll just create a new iteration. I reckon.
I think you're right. I think they'll try and find, because I think they might actually have rights to Crystal Lake as well. That might be the only other thing that, because it was whatever Sean S. Cunningham, because the deal is Sean's argument was Friday the 13th was written a right for hire job for Victor Miller. Victor Miller says that's somewhat true, but he came up with everything. So when that 35-year deal came up where your original creator can go back and get his rights, he filed for that. Sean sued to stop it. It went on for years, and what it boiled down to at the end is what I just said, and that was Cunningham walked away with the title because he came up with that, and I think he got Crystal Lake because that was something he also created. Beyond that, it was all Victor Miller, basically. So, and a lot of it just revolved around the fact that Victor Miller said it's Psycho in reverse.
Yeah.
Because
you're not wrong.
Because Sean told him to go write Halloween in the Woods, and he came back with Psycho in the Woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just the mother killing, hearing the boy's voice instead of the other way around.
Yeah. No, you're completely right.
And that's really what won him the case, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's an interesting push. I mean, it's nonsense what they're saying. You know, the prequel TV series has reignited interest about a new film. No, it hasn't. There's no one clambering for a new film. Like, it's not. There is obviously some people. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like there's a mass appeal.
Most of the fan base is pissed they wasted years on not bringing something out when they could have. Because how hard is it to make a Friday the 13th movie? We could make one for nothing.
Yeah, it's really not that difficult.
Not that hard.
With an iPhone camera.
Exactly. You can even make it a lost. They even were going to do that, like a lost found footage Friday the 13th movie at one point. It's like you could do so much with this franchise, and their excuse for why Paramount didn't do anything for years was so bogus. It was because they said, "Oh, the Ring reboot didn't do well." Like, what the hell does that have to do with Friday the 13th? You guys used to make these things just to make them because they paid for everything else.
Yeah.
You were embarrassed by them, but they still paid for everything else. So, sorry, Paulie, go ahead.
Is this the Babadook?
That's elevated horror. That's all Paulie's into. No, but we've already heard from Brian Fuller, and I've asked a few people that know Brian, obviously, and stuff about what's going on there. And it sounds like that is going to be very much a Friday the 13th prequel in the vein of the Psycho prequel, which is kind of fitting. Bates Motel, I think it was called, right? So that's in a little bit of Hannibal, because that's where his background is, Brian. You know, so kind of like this idea of the building of the mythos of Friday the 13th, and he's already promised we're going to see various incarnations of Jason in this show.
Yeah, they did say that for the sort of prequel show, wasn't it? That was an interesting element that they were going to explore as well.
Yep. So that tells me it might be like every few seasons things are going to change. Like the first season or two might be, you know, young Pamela, her having Jason, and then the next season he's a little older, the whole camping thing, and then him dying at like mid-season or end of the season, and then her, and then we may not even see that just lead up to the first movie. And then I've heard several rumors that this show might then pick up in between the movies. So there's kind of this weird tying to the originals franchise at the same time. That's at least rumor I've heard, let's say.
Yeah, it's
I just got that because there was like supposedly going to be a jump into the future in between certain seasons, and we will see Jason in full form.
Yeah, supposedly, like they did specifically specify the hockey mask will be there and everything like that, because that sort of threw into question whether they had that character, but they did. So that was all but confirmed. I mean, look, it's interesting. It is interesting. I'm aware you need to go now, don't you? That's your
sadly, and that's I wish I could stay, because this is I love Friday the 13th. It's a great topic, and
all of a sudden you woke up.
Show, but because it was some I knew some about. But
all right,
that's right. That's
I'm
good.
looking forward to the Crystal Lake show. Not so much this Friday the 13th movie in name only from Sean S. Cunningham, because let's face it, Sean S. Cunningham kind of got what he deserved.
Well, he makes schlock shit. Like
he does.
The thing is that this is a product of its time. You got Brian Fuller making a fucking prequel series. That's going to be standout.
It's either going to be amazing or crazy.
Standout. It's definitely going to be good.
Yeah, and Sean, though, here's why I say this. This motherfucker told Adam, the guy who directed Jason Goes to Hell, I don't care what you do, just get that fucking hockey mask out of the movie. In fact, get Jason out of the movie, because he hated Jason. Because he never had anything to do with Jason. And he has tried to backtrack on that story, but I've heard it from multiple places that is the motherfucking truth, that he's always hated Jason. So the fact that he lost Jason in the end, I think is ironic.
It's poetic justice, isn't it?
Poetic justice, if that's whatever. Yeah, if it's not irony, it's definitely poetic justice. You know, so in that sense, like, I don't feel sorry for Sean. I don't. I mean, he may be a great guy. He's made some fun movies that I like. But At this point,
Yeah.
I am no interest in anything that's Friday the 13th in name only.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
and to me,
on that
Friday
note,
the 13th isn't even important. So there you go. Yeah.
there you go.
The important
on that
parts
note,
are
buddy.
with the other show. Take care, guys.
All right.
See you, Tom.
Peace out, man.
See you in a bit on Meet if you're there. Take care.
Later.
Yes. Head on over
Hey.
to